Hello, today I'm going to review my Walden G3030CE. I use this guitar to record more than half of the tracks on my Warts and All CD, and it's a big favourite of mine. Hopefully at the end of this video you'll have some idea why. Speaking to other guitarists here in the UK, it's clear that an awful lot of people have never actually heard of the Walden brand, let alone played one. I think this has a lot to do with the dominance of Tanglewood, which lies in the same price range. Walden guitars are designed in the US by a guy called John Lee, but they're made in China. If you have preconceptions about Chinese guitars, it's time to throw them away, because the Walden guitars simply aren't like that. They're not Martin clones. They have very much their own identity and their own sound. They're well built, and there's none of the brittleness and jangliness that you might expect with a lot of Far Eastern guitars. Instead, there's a real purity to the tone, and that's even the cheap ones. Now here we've got one of the top of the range Supernatural models, and these are really pro quality guitars. They're comparable to a Western guitar costing £1,000 or more. I've read that they're actually hand-built, these guitars, and I can well believe it, because the build quality is excellent both inside and out. The spec couldn't be higher either. They use very high quality solid tone woods. You get pre-war scalloped bracing. The neck is solid mahogany, but it's reinforced with carbon rails. You get a bone nut and saddle, and then the guitar's finished off with this nice satin nitrocellulose finish, which gives it a very open and airy type of tone. Now this particular model is a grand auditorium. It's exactly the same size as my Stonebridge GS23, which is a very, very popular size for fingerstyle, and I think that's one of the reasons why I like it. It's a good compromise. You get the focus of an orchestral guitar, but with more bass there. The top of the guitar is solid Western red cedar, and the back and sides are solid East Indian rosewood. On this guitar, the fretboard, the bridge and the bridge pins are made of solid ebony, so really it couldn't be a higher spec guitar than it is. Tone wise, with this guitar, with the cedar rosewood combination, you'd expect to get a lot of richness in the bass, and you certainly do, but it's accompanied by good sparkle in the top end and a very, very refined sweet voice in the mid-range, and this makes it a great guitar for fingerstyle. Also you get a 1 3/4 inch nut, and this combined with the slimness of the neck and a nice soft touch in the strings makes it very, very easy to play indeed. It's also incredibly responsive, and it responds really nicely to any little touches and slides, as I'll hopefully demonstrate in due course. It's actually the most expensive guitar that Walden make, and this is primarily because of the pickup. It's a Fishman Ellipse blend, which incorporates both a UST undersaddle pickup and a little microphone. A lot of the Walden featured artists are singer-songwriters, and they seem to use this guitar, and I guess that this pickup system works very well in that context. Personally, I prefer a soundboard transducer pickup for playing live, and I attach that up here. Anyway, I think it's time for me to play the guitar for you. Right, so now we're set up for recording. This is a cedar top, and as such it doesn't really take very aggressive strumming, but nevertheless it is a very good instrument for strumming with a fair bit of punch to it. It would also make a very good instrument for accompanying a singer. However, as you know, I'm basically a fingerstyle player, and I think this is where it excels with its wonderful voice. So there you have it. The G3030CE is a really fine quality guitar with a great tone, great response and extremely easy to play. If you don't like the cedar rosewood combination, there's always the G2070, which is cedar mahogany, or the G3000, which is spruce rosewood, and they both have the same finish as this, and they're both also excellent fingerstyle guitars. Then Walden have more recently brought out the new Concorder line, which have a high gloss finish. I particularly have my eye on the CG2010, which has a combination of Engelmann spruce top and rosewood back and sides. I'm a big fan of Engelmann spruce because of its slight extra complexity as compared with Sitka spruce. If John Lee is listening, I would love to see a purely acoustic version of this particular guitar, simply because it would cut down considerably on the cost, and for fingerstyle guitarists such as myself, very often we prefer to put our own pickup in a guitar of this type. It would also be lovely to see a high gloss version as part of the Concorder line, not especially because it would sound better. I don't think it would, because to my mind the nitrocellulose finish really does contribute to the sound. But I know that there are players out there, particularly fingerstyle players, who aspire to sound like Antoine Dufour, who would really appreciate a guitar of this quality in this price range with a high gloss finish. And I think a guitar of that type really would sell quite well. Nevertheless, we're talking about a really fine guitar here, and I can highly recommend the entire Walden range.